This episode of Every Edition is sponsored by Dragon's Horn Studios. Check out their Kickstarter for In the Court of the Frozen Queen Refrosted, running through August 2022, which will bring their classic adventure to print for the first time. Go to dragonshornstudio.com to subscribe to their newsletter and check out all their virtual tabletop and PDF adventures for 5e and 3.5. The most fun thing that you do at a table when you're playing a tabletop role-playing game is roll dice.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing that's more fun than rolling dice is rolling more dice.
Hello and welcome to Every Edition, your tabletop RPG talk show. I'm Jesse.
I'm John.
Today on our Loot the Body segment, we're taking a look at the newest starter set from Wizards of the Coast, the Dragons of Stormwreck Isle.
And our random encounter today, we're going to be talking to Matthew McCloud from Lurking Fears. It's a gaming club that runs games at conventions. So a little bit of an extension of our conversation on GMs for Hire, but a slightly different spin.
And of course, we'll have our morale check where we take a look at news of the week and things going on in our industry. But first, what's new, John?
Well, so I ordered from AliExpress a giant mouse pad that has, you know, that like, what do they call that? The use them as play mats.
Yeah,
for,
play
like,
mats,
for magic and stuff like that. You know, they're
that material.
They're big mouse pads.
Sure.
Right. But it has the Hero Quest board printed on it.
Oh?
So it's a bigger version of the Hero Quest board to kind of like spread things out a little bit and give you a little bit of elbow room.
8-foot table?
Yeah, or something like that. So it has successfully arrived in the United States, but it has not arrived at my door yet.
It's going to take another couple months.
A couple more months, but I am anxiously anticipating an AliExpress order of a giant mouse pad so that I can just up my Hero Quest game. There was a bunch of announcements for Hero Quest at GenCon, including a new upcoming expansion and a new rogue character and all this stuff. So there's a lot of excitement and energy around Hero Quest. Yeah, so I took that excitement and energy right to AliExpress. Jesse, what's new with you?
So just this past weekend, I participated as a vendor in an art show.
Oh.
I've done a lot of conventions and things like that as a vendor before, but always selling other people's things and always working for somebody else, you know.
Yeah.
But this time I got a chance to sell my art. I do paintings. I actually started doing paintings because I wanted to give my players in my 5th edition world, homebrew world, a thing to look at. Like
Okay.
I wanted that as like a world building exercise.
Yeah.
And I'd always like loved Bob Ross and things like that. So done some like Bob Ross stuff. And
Who
some
doesn't
stuff
love
on my
Bob
own.
Ross?
Yeah, he's great. So I participated in an art show and it was great. I got invited to a couple others to sell my stuff there, and I'm working on some like AI art and some more D&D stuff, and it's great. I love art, and I love that sort of mix between world building and like physical painting.
Cool. Always good to hear about your entrepreneurial exploits. Did you sell anything?
Oh yeah, I sold like way more than I thought. I sold like 5 or 6 canvases.
Good for you. Cool.
And honestly, I did it to just get some space.
Yeah.
Because canvases take up a lot of space when I've got like 20 canvases that are like 18 by 24, so they take up a lot of space.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it was really fun and really exciting, but I came sort of bare bones, not knowing what to expect. But the next show's in a couple months, and I'll probably have an update for everybody after that one.
Cool.
All right, it's time for a morale check. Our morale checks are where we take a look at news of the week and things going on in our industry. And this week, we've got some exciting news from Magic the Gathering, from Wizards of the Coast. So sometimes I like to bring Magic into the fold of Every Edition because sometimes it crosses over. And this might be good reason for things to cross over in the future. We've sort of speculated about previous Magic things crossing into Magic or into D&D. But they've laid out the next year and a half of Magic, and it's all returning to previous places that we've been, previous planes, and expanding the lore that is there. So this feels kind of like they're really digging into the history of these worlds and these fleshing out these characters and making more art for these characters. And we've seen with previous D&D books that they'll take some of this art some of the dragons or whatnot and some of the characters and put them into a book. And, sort of while they're at it, making lore, they'll make an adventure and they'll make a book out of it. So they're going back to the original plane of Magic called Dominaria, which is where Magic first started in 1993, 1994. And they're fleshing out some story stuff there. And they're bringing in this alien race that is a fan favorite called the Phyrexians, which is this like sort of biomechanical sort of race. And they're finishing up that storyline, which is another super popular storyline. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe sometime later next year, because this storyline spans the next year and a half in Magic. I'm thinking maybe towards the end of that we'll see some D&D stuff come out of that.
Well, yeah, it would make sense. Maybe that's going to be part of the 50th anniversary celebration, is to do a Dominaria book for Dungeons and Dragons,
which hasn't been done yet.
Hasn't been done yet. They'll have all the art ready to go. And that would be, in keeping with if WotC has this big celebration to kind of celebrate how Magic and D&D have been coalescing and collaborating and working together.
Especially over the last couple of years.
Yeah. And also, if they do Dominaria, let me ring my Greyhawk bell, because those would be the two sort of original worlds.
Yes.
Right? That would be cool. That's all part of the celebration. It'd be a new world for D&D, but the original world for Magic, and a new 5th edition world with Greyhawk getting a setting book. All right, so in other news, Axian Library, a collection of 5 zines for old school essentials put out by Giuseppe Rotondo. It's out now on DriveThruRPG. This was a Zemo project, a zine month project for February 2022. And it was one I was really excited about. Giuseppe Rotondo was kind enough to send us a copy. So thank you very much for that, so we could take a look. And we're going to return the favor as soon as the print on demand is available on DriveThruRPG. I will be purchasing one,
pick that up.
And we'll take a look at the physical, and who knows, maybe it'll end up as a loot the body.
Oh yeah.
But I had a chance to look at the PDF, and there were 2 things that really caught my attention right off the bat. The first one was it has an alternate Vancian magic system for old school essentials. And that's the idea of like spells taking up compartments or spots in your brain. That's what Vancian magic is. And so you can only have one fireball prepared because you can't literally remember something twice, right? That's sort of the physics of Vancian magic and stuff like that. So you can remember spells that are inverses. So you can remember like cause harm and cure, in a cure spell, because they are different, even though they're the opposites of each other. But you couldn't memorize 2 fireballs or 2 magic missiles or something like that, because you can't literally remember 2 things, the same thing twice. But their Vancian magic system that they have for old school essentials has some magical mishap charts.
Yes,
my favorite. Making magic dangerous, right? There's actually 2 sets of magical mishap charts. So right off the bat, loving Axian Library.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
The other thing was, and this we need to use for my character in our ongoing campaign, is a retroactive chart for why a character wasn't present. So if you missed a game, which I've missed the last 2 games because of summer, conflicts and stuff like that. You come back, you roll on this chart, and it will randomly sort of generate an excuse or a reason for why your character was missing from the adventure. What a great idea.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Why is that not just sort of a standard thing?
Yeah, it's so good. Like handling a real world problem and the greatest enemy of all Dungeons and Dragons players, scheduling. And fixing it so that your narrative kind of makes a little bit more sense, or turns it into a narrative possibility.
Right? Yeah, it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
Sort of, poking fun at it.
So check out Axian Library. The PDF's available on DriveThruRPG, and the paid on demand on DriveThruRPG is coming soon.
So Dragon's Horn Studios, which is the sponsor of this episode, they have successfully funded their most recent Kickstarter, which is still going until the end of the month, for the Court of the Frozen Queen Refrosted, which is an adventure for 5th edition and 3.5, but it's also their first on-print or in print
Yeah.
adventure. I had a chance to take a look at the Kickstarter and take a look at their website. And honestly, I'm really, really excited about this. I have always been searching for my homebrew campaign for a sort of frozen north, like Frost Queen type adventure, like mini adventure. And this is like fits right in. I love their designs. I love their art. It's fantastic. They're also doing a PDF release for the Foundry virtual tabletop. It seems great. I'm super excited for this.
Yeah, we had a chance to take a look at the PDF of In the Court of the Frozen Queen, the old version, not the new refrosted version that's getting kickstarted, but the original version of the game. And the thing that stuck out to me is it actually has the stats for 5th edition and 3.5 side by side.
Yep.
Mostly it's skills, right? So it's different skill checks, and it gives you a slightly different difficulty number for the two different editions, and maybe a different skill to look at. And so for me, as a sort of a tabletop RPG nerd, it's cool to see them side by side and to think about how you would translate between the two editions. In the back of the book, there are two different sections for the monsters.
Sure.
Right? So there's a 3.5 section for monsters and then a 5th edition section for monsters. So those are presented separately and in the back, but throughout the adventure, there's color-coded sections for the skills.
Okay.
And that's the thing that I was like, that's really cool. I like the way it's color-coded. I like how they're side by side, and I can start to think about the translation. And then, I love monster stats in the back, and the fact that there's both, right? And two different sections. Just very nice presentation.
And you'll be able to flip between them because it's physical.
Yep.
It's exciting that it's going to be in print, and I'm not really much of a PDF kind of person. Anyway, I like in Kickstarters when you get the extra PDF, maybe a little bit early, but I'm definitely a in print kind of person.
Yeah, cool that a company that up until this point has just been virtual tabletop and PDFs is making that jump to physical product. Yeah. So worth checking out the Kickstarter if you want to support a company that's making that transition. Dragon's Horn Studios is a small family-owned business out of Poland.
Yep.
Kickstarter's live right now through the month of August, so check it out.
You can go to dragonshornstudios.com to check out the Kickstarter and all the new art and all the new maps and all that good stuff of their new Refrosted adventure.
And finally, our friends at Night Owl Publishing have a new release. It's called Arete, and it is an ancient Greek fantasy sandbox adventure that is available in PDF right now on DriveThruRPG and itch.io.
Sure.
Again, I want to be honest. I got a copy from our friends at Night Owl Publishing. They shared it with me, so I had a chance to look at it. But my opinions are my own. So here we go. This is great.
Yeah, it seems fantastic.
It's fantastic. One of the things that is exceptional about it, and it shows the creativity of Night Owl Publishing, is there is an awesome game mechanic for calling upon the help of the gods. And the most fun thing that you do at a table when you're playing a tabletop role-playing game is roll dice.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing that's more fun than rolling dice is rolling more dice, right? And so this game mechanic is literally you pick up all 7 of the core dice, right, of the core polyhedral dice, and you roll them all, and you add them together. And if your total is under 15, so you're trying to roll under, if it's under 15, the gods come and help you. And if it's over, then nothing happens, or maybe the gods even get irritated or something like that. But you pick up all your dice and you chuck them. I mean, that's that feels like you're calling upon the gods.
Yeah.
You're using all of your math rocks,
and you're trying to roll low with 7 dice, which is like really, really tough.
It's not going to happen,
especially with a double-digit die.
Sure. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I think the polyhedral die is just like an additional D10.
Oh, okay.
So it's like you're rolling. I think it's like you're rolling two D10s. Great, inventive, creative, wonderful idea. The other thing I really like about Arete is that it comes with pre-gens, pre-generated characters. I wish that more zine adventures did come with pre-gens. It's something that makes it possible for you to quickly bring it to the table, right? That's the whole point of pre-gens, is that you got the zine, it's got the adventure, and woo, I've got the characters, here we go.
Yeah, let's start playing right now.
Let's start playing right now. So if you're a creator of zines out there and you're hearing this, please include pre-gens. Like make it a PDF stretch goal or something like that on your Kickstarter.
Free download.
Free download. Yeah, absolutely. But more pre-gens, please. So it was a simple thing that Arete does, but I really appreciated it. The adventure itself is, like I said, a sandbox adventure. So it has a very sort of simple map and different places for you to check out and different things to explore and things going on. But I love the flavor. Love that calling for God's mechanic. So check out Arete from Night Owl Publishing. It's available right now only in digital format on DriveThruRPG and itch.io. So we'd love to hear from you. Are you backing anything right now for Zine Quest 4? We're right in the middle of it.
Yep.
Some things are starting to wrap up. Other things are going all the way to the end of the month of August. This is the second zine month that we've had this year, a year of recession.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what's not receding: zines. There are so many. I definitely had to cut back.
Yep.
Without a doubt. You know, I really had to be choosy, especially this time around with it being the second zine month going on.
They're a quick turnover, though.
Yeah.
As opposed to sort of other normal Kickstarters.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
So what are you backing right now on Kickstarter? Send us a note, everyeditionrpg@gmail.com. Let us know. You can also find links to all of our socials at everyeditionrpg.com. We've got links to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can find links to our podcast on Apple and Spotify. And of course, if you're here on YouTube, hello there. Good to see you. Leave a comment and let us know what you think.
It's time for our random encounter. Today's random encounter, we are joined by Matthew McCloud of Lurking Fears. This one's pretty interesting for me. A couple episodes ago, maybe more than a couple, we talked about DMing and DMing for hire.
Yeah.
And DMing at conventions and things, like when you had experienced a couple different new DMs at the convention that you were at.
Right.
So this is an interesting interview for us.
Yeah, great to be with you, Matthew.
Hi, guys. Great to be here.
Yeah.
So, could you give us a sort of elevator pitch to those who may not know exactly what Lurking Fears is, as to what it is?
Got it. Yeah. Off the top, we are basically a resource for GMs or players that are looking to run games at conventions, and how to hook up a GM with like a great game, how to schedule their game, how to get that game noticed, and possibly work with publishers to get your game paid for to run by those publishers.
Nice.
It's awesome. Yeah, we met at Origins, and you were the game master for Dark Places and Demogorgons.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorites. One of my absolute favorites to run.
That's great.
Eric Blode is a great guy.
Yeah, we're hoping to have Eric actually maybe in the next interview or two.
Nice.
To get him on and talk about some of the things happening with Bloat Games. Lots of
I'm
cool stuff.
Sure he'd love to chat with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. But so we met there. You ran a great game and actually played a couple Lurking Fears games.
Sweet.
Experienced a couple different game masters. So you had at Gen Con, you had your own, at Origins, you had your own room. Okay, and at Gen Con too. You had your own room. You had your banner up, said Lurking Fears, right? And all the game masters in that room were affiliated with your organization, and were running what kind of games?
We specialize in grim, dark, and horror, but honestly, we won't turn anything away if the people are digging it and want to give it a try. We're open to about anything.
Okay.
But we specialize in Call of Cthulhu, Morkborg, the grim and dark kind of games. A lot like what Bloat Games does with Dark Place Demogorgons' Zombies line.
Yeah.
We Cult is a big one that we run right now. Games like that, we tend to lean that way. Of course, that's our name, Lurking Fears.
Yeah,
sure.
It kind of birthed that because almost all of our GMs started off as Call of Cthulhu GMs.
Okay.
But yeah, we will give anything a shot. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I had a chance to play an Alien RPG game with you guys.
Sweet. Yeah, see? Another great horror game.
That was a great horror game. Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of a lean towards the horror and the grim dark, but try anything. Well, how did you...
We'll give anything a shot.
Give anything a shot. So how did Lurking Fears then come about? How did it get started? What's its origin story?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been involved with conventions for a long time, either gaming conventions like this one or Comic Cons or stuff like that. And I've been everything from like, the number 2 guy running the con to, just a player, or attendee. And I worked with a really great group of guys called Rogue Cthulhu way back at Origins, and they had like the Call of Cthulhu games nailed down. Chaosium came to them and said, "Hey, can you run these games for us? We will give you a bunch of prize support and all kinds of stuff like that." Chaosium was very, very generous with the prize support. To as you saw, like from maybe our prize table we had at the con.
It was great.
It was a
great prize table. Yep.
We get lots and lots of great stuff, and I worked with them for a long time, and then that group fell apart. It just stopped being what it was. So I took a lot of the GMs there that still wanted to do something, but I put it more towards a business model, where we approached the different publishers and stuff like that. And like if I got on that elevator pitch a little more floors, I would tell them, we approach publishers and say, hey, and we aim for publishers that don't get their game played a lot at con. And I was like, hey, we don't see your game here. We think it's a really great game. How about if we ran these games for you at cons for X amount per session? And I haven't come across one that didn't think it was a fantastic idea. and just really just kind of took the ball and run with it.
Yeah. Well, and it's a great it is sort of an off growth of this sort of like GM for hire or DM for hire, but not necessarily one that people are thinking about or one that's the most obvious, right?
Exactly. And that's where we come in the mid ground. I mean, I know there's a lot of negative connotation for GMs for hire, the players like, oh, I shouldn't have to pay for games and stuff like that. And I completely understand that. We charge the publisher, right. We look at the publisher and go, hey, can we run 5 games of Traveler or 20 games of Octon Cthulhu? And and we agree on a set price before we go in, and then I find GMs to get those games as I'm filling the slots up, and we go.
That's awesome. No, it's and the thing is, you're already paying for the convention, right? So by charging the publisher, you sort of avoid all that murky waters of maybe some people being uncomfortable with paying a GM for D&D, right? Yeah. I mean, there is still like available at conventions, like you can do up charges for certain games, and for certain signature games we do. For people who are like fans of Lurking Fears and know who we are and know a handful of our GMs who are truly spectacular that are running X game and they want to be part of X game, like our Masters tournament. We had like a 3-table Masters tournament at Origins this year, and I charged like $10 a head. But that all went to prizes. I paid twice that much in prizes. So we're not taking advantage of anybody, any of the players in that aspect. If anything, it's just to kind of offset the cost of making sure that we're running the best game we possibly can.
So which conventions do you normally go to? Any just sort of like the big ones, or
Origins is our home. It's the one where we started. It's the one that most of our GMs go to. I have between 25 and 30 GMs that I can pull from and go, hey, who wants to run this, that, and the other? And they're all like, yeah, me, and stuff like that. We're quickly building a Gen Con fan base. This year was our first year as a group at Gen Con.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
had an
cool.
absolute fantastic time doing it. We come up there running games for like Axian or other publishers before, just kind of on our own kind of a deal. But after post COVID, this was our first time that we were able to show Gen Con. We have the established track record at Origins. We're kind of like favored status with Origins, and they're like, yeah, sure. And they gave us a game room at the JW Marriott, and the benefits of being an independent gaming club, rather than like, hey, I'm just going to run games at the Cephalobear booth or or whatever. And independent gaming groups get a lot more choice as far as compensation, like the badges, or you can get your hotel rooms comped, stuff like that. So if you go in with like a larger group that really just come to the con to run games, you can really do well as far as at least not being out any money. Sure. Yeah. Kind of have a paid vacation, at least not be out any money, because your hotel's paid for, your badge is paid for. You just go and run a bunch of games and make people happy and yourself happy doing them.
That's awesome. So what are you going? I think I saw something on social media. Are you guys going to GaryCon?
We'll be at GaryCon. Yeah,
okay.
I have a handful of people actually that are coming to like Pax Unplugged. We're really excited. It'll be our second time at Pax Unplugged.
Nice.
In December. And then we're going to be at GaryCon. I'm looking at maybe 5 or so GMs. We pull from where we have people locally, and most of them are like in the Ohio area, around that Columbus area where Origins are at, or can get to it easily. Right. So as we go further out, I don't have as many to pull from, but GaryCon will probably going to have like 5 or 6 GMs, running a bunch of games for clients there. GaryCon, and then Origins, Gen Con again, PAX Unplugged, and then there's other smaller local cons like Akade Con. I know, a few of our GMs are like, hey, I want to go run games here and there. I don't have to be at every one. I'm like, go. What do you need? Do you need some prize? Do you need some prize support? I'll mail you a box, and just go. So we tend to list on our Facebook site, which I don't maintain a web page because Facebook does everything I need it to do. Sure. And we just tend to list, hey, we're going to be running games here. Like I'll be running games. I can't go. It kills me. I can't go, but I'll be running games online at Necronomicon.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's a lot of cons. We're planning on going to PAX coming up. That's actually in our backyard. Yep. So we're looking forward to that con coming up. And
nice.
GaryCon's on my wish list, just to be able to play a little bit more.
It's fun.
A little more OSR type stuff. Yeah.
It's fun. It's super fun. You'll see a lot of the OSR stuff, and you'll see a lot of old games that you never even heard of. That are out there, and just like some terrain and stuff on the field, and you're like, what is this, and like the old flying circus games and stuff like that, and that are kind of reminiscent of like Wings of Glory, I think now, but games I haven't even heard of, and I was super flattered this past year at GaryCon. Like I entered in a few games to run for Bloat. At Bloat Games, and a few of the GMs like say, hey, Matt's going to be up here, can do this, do that, and GaryCon staff reached out to me and said, hey, we have like the Masters of Role Playing tournament. Would you consider being a GM at this? And I'm like, absolutely. Nice. I would love to do this. And I'm like, what are we doing? It was like, we're doing first ed D&D. You got 10 players, and it's a timed adventure. However far they go is how many points they get. And I'm like, fantastic. I have not played first edition D&D in like 25 years. Let me go look at my books. But I had an absolute blast playing a game with what I call Dice Team 10. Yeah. they just came in just like snipers, dude. They rocked that game. It was a super fun game.
That sounds like a real old school tournament. Like I went to Gen Con when it was in Milwaukee. That was the last time I've been to Gen Con in the 90s. And definitely there were some tournaments like that where you were sort of like point system and based on how far you got, And I remember feeling mixed about that kind of thing, because it did feel a little railroady sometimes.
Oh, sure.
It is. Yeah. It is. The players are on a mission, and you're on a mission to make sure that they get through as much as they can.
Yeah.
In the allotted amount of time, and you got to have a good gel of the players to the GM ratio. GM's got to be descriptive, but not lollygag around.
Yeah.
Let's not do a J.R.R. Tolkien in introduction of the town. Let's say, hey,
right.
It's this. It's sunny. The cows are out in the pasture. Let's go.
I would not be good at that.
But yeah.
So
time management is key.
Yeah.
You had mentioned working with Chaosium. What other publishers have you worked with?
We work with, again, Bloat from Bloat Games. He's super great. He's the one that actually kind of kicked me in gear and hired me on as like his GM. Nice. and made me realize, hey, I can make this a thing.
Nice.
And that gave me the courage to talk out and reach out to other publishers like Mongoose, Modifius, Stygian, Fox, forgetting a bunch of others. Hit Point Press that does the new 5e version of Heckness Dark Carnival.
Okay.
Limithron that's doing pirate work now.
Oh yeah.
And I keep building as I keep going through these conventions every year, and I start to build a schedule. Like literally a Gen Con this year, a friend wanted to come and run some games, those 5e games, the Heckness Dark Carnival, and I'm like, yeah, sure. We've never run 5e in our group before, but it's kind of dark and kind of creepy, and let's put it on. And Hit Point Press came and saw all the games we had on schedule. Like, yeah, we want to be a part of this thing. And I'm like, that's what we're all about.
Well, that's a solid roster of publishers that you're working with. That's great.
Yeah. We found that we're very, very attractive to publishers across the pond, like Modifius and Mongoose and others, because we can get their games out on the table for a fraction of the cost for them to send people out here. We were blessed at this past Gen Con, like a couple of they sent like some of the UK team to like just man the booth at Modifius, and they came and ran a couple, just some pickup games of like Dune and the Fallout RPG. And we had some people just kind of wandering around and heard about it and like, yeah, absolutely, and so we were blessed to have them come in and kind of pitch in with us and do that. So we've been able to kind of rub elbows with some of the superstars in the industry. Bloat for one. Seth Skorkowski is a good friend. We've done a lot of play testing with Seth for his Traveler and Call of Cthulhu stuff. Super great guy.
Awesome.
It's been a shower of blessings that's been coming on us ever since I've really run this. And the more I talk to people about it, they're like, nobody's doing this.
It's all up to the convention, I guess.
It's I mean, again, like you have like your booth people that are running demo games and stuff like that, and like like DCC has their crew, their road crew and stuff like that, and like I think Steve Jackson Games used to, or probably still has, like their Men in Black, that run their games, but nobody's coming out to them and saying, hey, we will run this game. We have established GMs that know your stuff or can learn your stuff, and get it on the table, because it's not on the table. Let's get it on the table, get it in players' hands.
Coming from the DM's perspective, the GM's perspective, what sorts of benefits are there for them?
Yeah, I mean, it really works out well for GMs, because depending on how much they want to do, it's entirely up to them. We run X amount per set. We pay depending on the game that they want to run too. Like if they want to run this game, and I'm like, I'm sorry, we don't have this client, but you're more welcome to run this game. We're working on that client or just haven't been able to get anything with that client. But you're still welcome to come and run that game. And you can still, based on however many games you want to run, like if you want to run like 4 or 5 games or something like that, we can definitely make sure you get a badge for the con, especially at Origins, Gen Con, the bigger cons like that. And then if you really want to go all hog wild and run like 8 or so games, which is a lot, but some people again come to run games like me. That's all. I'm the worst player. I love running games. I force myself on the other side of the screen every now and then just to keep up with what the kids are doing, you know. And you learn new tricks and stuff like that. Absolutely. But if they want to run a bunch of games like that, then we can comp your room. I mean, and that's a huge cost out of any convention. If you're there for 5 days paying $300 a room or whatever, something like that, you know, on the light side, granted, we do ask that you, because of the con, the way to set up, you are sharing the room with like 2 or 3 other people that are doing the same thing. But you know, it's like nerd camp. You go and sleep 5 hours and you're back. You go and sleep for 5 hours and go run back out and play games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right. So how do you recruit? How do you, or let's say you're listening to this podcast or watching this episode, and you're like, hey, this Lurking Fierce thing sounds pretty cool. Like, how does this work? How do you become a Lurking Fierce GM?
Absolutely. So if you are part of Facebook, you can definitely search us, Lurking Fears. We're the only thing that comes up, I believe, for that Lurking Fears gaming group. Introduce yourself, you know, put yourself in a group, introduce yourself, you know, if you want to run games, we'll talk to you. We will vet you. We'll ask you to run a game for us, something like that on Discord or something like that, and see how you do. And, you know, and see, you know, what things you're great at, what things you need to work at, stuff like that. If Facebook's not your friend, you can always just reach out to me personally at MatthewMcCloud7@gmail.com, and I'll respond to you.
Very cool.
We'll have links to all those down in the description if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Matt, what games do you say you're a GM at heart? What are your favorite games to run?
Well, I'm contractually obligated, but to say Bloat games, of course. No, the more I run those games, the more I do love them. They have a great OSR feel. And there's some of those games I can really just let it rip, like the Dark Place Demigorgons. You have the tropisms and stuff that are in as part of the 80s and stuff. And even with 90s and so on, and some of their other lines. And the Zombies game is absolutely fantastic. Probably the best Zombies game I've ever run as far as detail on what you can do.
Matthew, I wanted to give you some praise because the game of Dark Places and Demigorgons that you ran, we got our characters in cassettes. Right? And so there was an album cover which gave you a little bit of an insight as to what you were picking, but you didn't actually know the character's stats or anything like that. You just sort of picked the cassette case and the cover based on the album, and then opened it up, and just like the liner notes of a cassette, and there was a character sheet. That was brilliant. And I actually collected as many of those. Some people abandoned theirs.
Oh, sure.
And I'm a little bit of a pack rat, so I scooped them all up because I was like, this is cool, and it's a reminder to me. I absolutely want to steal that idea.
Absolutely. I am nothing if not extra, sir. I mean, that's what I like to do. I'm always coming up with ideas and encouraging our GMs to come up with things outside the box to make the game as fun as possible for the players. Like this is something else I started working at. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a library card.
Sure.
You know, and I've made this like a character sheet. For like Dark Places and Demigorgons, you know, and it's something else I can put in there as well, you know, as something to kind of mix it up with, or you know, I might do lunch boxes or something at one time. Just, you know, just something to kind of immediately put you in that mood. Have you played
Tales from the Loop?
Tales from the Loop is a great game. I do love that game as well. But yeah, other than like the Bloat games, my top 2 games that are like neck and neck to run are Call of Cthulhu, because again, I love scaring the crap out of people. And Traveler, because I love watching people run out of oxygen in their spacesuit.
Both of those strike me as challenging to run. Is that a false impression?
It is kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, Call of Cthulhu, it's a percentile system. You roll percentile dice almost all the time. And, people ask me what dice they need at the start of every game. And it's like, you'll need everything but a 20. If you're rolling a 20, I'm drunk and we all need to go home. but it's all it tends to be all percentile based. You look at your stats or your skills. I can break down the game in 5 minutes to people and go down the character sheet. This is what you do, blah, 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 blah. And we're rolling in 5 minutes, ready to go. Great. Same thing with Traveler. It's a 2d6 system. You're rolling 2d6, add your attribute stat and your skill stat, and that's it. I mean, that's really it. They're very simple games. Can they be crunchy? Yeah, they can be as crunchy as you want it to be. But for a convention scenario, we just need this. I can put the whole Traveler sheet again on an index card about the same size as that. So nice.
Yeah. Okay, so you do for those games or any of the games, you do sort of simplify or focus them a little bit in terms of rules and stuff.
Well, I mean, we stay as true as we can to the mechanics of the game. Again, Traveler really is that simple. You can't get more complex. Like if, say, I want to build my own starship. Okay, well, first you need to go and get a degree in aeronautical math before you even begin, because there are some flowcharts and stuff that will make you scratch your head.
Sure.
But as far as just I want to go out and shoot somebody or do a spacewalk or something like that, make this dice roll. We're going. We run games that are much more allow for a narrative style.
Okay.
I look for GMs that are storytellers that can concisely but clearly provide the picture to the GMs. Sure. I mean to the players. What is happening and what's going on, and illustrate the world for them quickly, and allow the players agency to pick the colors that we're going with. That's really what we go for. We go for games that aren't super rules intensive, that allow you that narrative quality.
Cool. So you had said that Gen Con, this was your first time with Lurking Fears going out to Gen Con, and we're just coming out of Gen Con here. It's August as we're filming this. How'd it go? Like, what? Give us a convention report.
We had a fantastic time. All our games sold out immediately.
Wow.
We were really, really excited. So that definitely put us in the right mood. Sure. We only had one game out of I think the 80 games or so that we had scheduled. That we didn't have player show, and it was a Sunday game. Nobody comes. We're usually lucky that was a very good full fill rate for us still on a Sunday to have just one game where we didn't have enough players to make the game, but we still were able to put them into other games that that they were able to enjoy. Yeah. I think, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think Gen Con is definitely on the track to come back.
Nice.
I feel like it had around a 50,000 population, which was nice, versus its 60 and 70,000 population that it normally has. I want to say it's somewhere in that magic number between 45, 50,000, because it was busy, but it wasn't jammed, So it definitely had that kind of a feel for me. We were kind of on the back end of the con, again, and the JW Marriott, that was the con for us, pretty much was that hotel room, the hotel. But we would get to the exhibit hall and it was busy and people were buying stuff. My friends that work at the Syphilo Fair booth, I mean, they sold out of almost everything. All their Gloomhaven stuff was gone. Oh. So they were ecstatic. Yeah. So I feel like that one, Gen Con definitely is on its way to come back from the COVID times.
Nice. Absolutely. Good. I'm glad to hear it.
So now that cons are coming back in full force, let's maybe reminisce on previous cons. What is your sort of most memorable con moment?
My most memorable con moment. Can this be Gamer Con or Celebrity Con?
Anything.
Yeah, whatever.
Comic-Con. My other sideline I like to do is Comic-Cons. Okay. And there's a story about Shatner that I always love to tell. I told George Takei, and he absolutely fell in love with it. And we started swapping stories about Shatner the entire weekend. Nice. After I told him this story. When I first started doing this, probably about 12, 13 years ago now. There was a local con that was growing exponentially here, and that was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we were able to get some really, big celebrities and stuff, and Shatner was one of them. And I was just like a volunteer, kind of helping out, setting up the booths and stuff like that. And I was going to spend a day helping out William Shatner. I'm like, oh, this is really exciting. This is my first time where I was going to actually, like what we call in the term babysitting, or being a handler for a celebrity at a convention, because you pick them up at the hotel, get them there to the con, and do all that, make sure they
get to the right room.
They get to the right room.
Yeah.
You sometimes you even sit there and take the money and stuff like that.
Sure.
And right off the tick sheet. But I'm just setting up like the stanchions where like the people do like the cattle corral kind of thing to get up to them. And I'm setting up the stanchions, and like his agent has come and set up the table with Shatner. And again, this was about 12 years ago, so I want to say. And they're setting out all the pictures and that he's going to, offer to autograph and stuff like that, and getting everything nice and everything set up. And the agent is going to goes and gets him like some coffee or something. And I'm setting up the stanchions, and I'm looking on, hi, Miss Shatner, I'll be with you today and stuff like that. That's great. And I'm going to go back and start fixing the stanchions. And his phone rings, and again, this was a long time ago. I think it was like iPhone 1 or 2 or something like that. So his phone starts ringing, and he's looking around, and he's looking at his phone. His phone's ringing, and I'm like, answer your phone. And he's like looking around, he's like looking back where the agent was at, and I'm like, oh my God, he doesn't know how to answer his phone. His agent answers his phone. So whoever it was is like already hung up and is calling again, and I'm just kind of like swipe it. He just looks at me, and he holds the finger like this far off the phone, and he's doing like this, and I'm like, I actually had to go up and take his finger and just push it across the screen because I'm exasperated by them. And I, he picks up the phone, he's talking, and like goes off this way. So it was just one of those hilarious moments that just never happens, and no one ever believes you until they're with me at a con that Shatner's at, and I'm like, look, watch this, and I just go. And he's like, he remembers me, from
That's pretty good.
And they're like, I can't believe that, man. That's just ridiculous. So yeah, I told George that story, and he's like, and he's got that, that super deep voice, George guy. Okay. And he's like, no, Matthew, this man's personally responsible for this technology happening. I'm like, yeah, I know. But yeah, it's like one of my favorite con stories to tell, and everybody who knows me knows that story.
Well, very good. So, Matthew, what is next for Lurking Fears?
What is next for Lurking Fears? What's coming down the pipe? We are keeping on and building up our roster of publishers that we work with, and we keep building up our client list to get a more diverse group of games out there. Branching out to everything again, like Hit Point Press and a few others. Keeping on that way. We are making plans. I can't quite let it out bag now. But we are going to have some voice actors from some other people come out and do like some live plays and stuff at Origins and stuff like that.
Great.
So we're definitely going to do some more signature events like our Masters tournament and so on. But we've just kind of like hit our second gear, as far as like, okay, this is viable. We're climbing up the hill, and now is just to get into a steady gear and see where everybody's comfort levels at, make sure that everybody is running the games that they want and enjoy running the games, and that the players enjoy the games most of all. I mean, we wouldn't be here without the players enjoying the games and building that fan base.
What's the next con we'll see you at?
I will be at PAX Unplugged.
All right,
PAX Unplugged in December. Yeah.
Well, will we. So let's make sure to get together.
We'll get together. Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be looking for my schedule on the Reddit. I think they put their schedule on Reddit. But yeah, I'll be looking. We'll be throwing some games out there. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, Matthew, it was awesome to get a chance to interview you, to hear about Lurking Fears. idea of working with publishers to run their games at conventions. And best of luck with year 2 of Lurking Fears and into year 3 and beyond.
Absolutely.
And beyond.
That's where we continue to go, and onward and upward. Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, it was great to talk to Matthew McCloud from Lurking Fears. I know we had talked about Lurking Fears a little bit when you came back from Origins, and sort of put that on my radar. I'm really hoping that this gets sort of the word out to a couple more players and some DMs or some GMs. I know I'm probably going to apply to be a Lurking Fear GM for a couple of games, so maybe I'll see you at PAX Unplugged. Who knows?
Stay tuned.
What's your favorite horror game? Lurking Fears, I mean, as the title would say, has definitely a horror game leaning side. I definitely enjoy Alien RPG, I think, the most.
Yeah.
I've had the most experience and most fun with that. But I'd really like to play Call of Cthulhu with them.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe if I don't GM at PAX Unplugged, I'll play one of their Call of Cthulhu games.
Good call.
So let us know what your favorite horror game is. You can always send us a note at everyeditionrpg@gmail.com. You can also find all of our socials at everyeditionrpg.com, including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Patreon, or you could always let us know in the comments down below if you're watching on YouTube.
It's time to loot the body. On today's Loot the Body, we are taking a look at the starter set, the new one from Wizards of the Coast, 5th edition, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. As of the recording of this episode, August of 2022, this is a Target exclusive.
Yes.
I've actually never seen it in a Target. I had to order it.
Really?
I had to order it through Target.com, and I went to a Target the day it was released, and I couldn't find it.
Maybe they were all
sold out.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's not getting the push that I would have expected. I expected there to be at least some kind of kiosk
huge display
or a display or something, right? Nothing. But it is only available at Target right now. Now, later on, it is going to open up and be available in hobby shops and in other places and stuff. And actually, some gaming stores and things like that do have pre-orders available.
Okay.
So that I know it's coming soon to other locations. But right now, it is a Target exclusive. That's a knock against this right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's not helping local hobby shops. This is a handshake deal with 2 mega corporations.
Yeah, I'm not very happy with this at all.
Yuck. That's all I have to say about that.
As someone who works in a hobby shop, it's really good that we get the sort of bone of the alternate covers. No other store gets that, not even like Barnes & Noble or anything like that.
Right.
It doesn't really make sense unless there was a big dollar sign attached to this, why you would choose a big box store like Target to partner with first. Like if you're going to do something exclusive first, you would want it to be the stores that actually house the game that you're selling. But again, everything's about money, so I mean, I guess it makes sense if you look at it from that point of view.
So there's sort of the politics surrounding this starter set. Put that aside. What's in this thing? What is going on here with this starter set, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle? Okay, so 2 things strike me right off the bat. 2 things that I want to mention before we go any further.
Sure.
The first is to talk about the dice.
Yes.
Because anytime you get a role-playing box set, I think the dice make or break a set.
Always.
Okay? And then I also want to talk about the art. Okay? So, let's do the dice first.
Okay.
The dice. Wow, did they go cheap.
Oh my God, yeah.
Wow, did they go cheap. Okay, WotC is the company that made you believe that you need 4 D6s every time you buy a set of dice. And if you only get 1 D6, you're somehow getting cheated.
Yeah.
So you got to buy their dice so that you get 4 D6, right? And by the way, you need 2 20-siders also, right? And so there's this creep of dice sets, right? Growing and growing and growing. Not in this starter set. There are 6 dice. Not even
the 7.
Not even the standard core 7. You get 1 D10. There is no percentile dice with this set. Wah, wah, wah. I mean, that is a loser.
Yeah, it's worse than the other starter sets at the same price point. Like, what's happening here?
Oh, the original starter set had great dice.
Yeah.
There were red and white dice. You got 4 D6s because you have to, right? And it was great. It was a full set. This one, a sad 6 dice.
Very sad.
A sad 6 dice. Okay, so that's number 1. So nobody's buying this set for the dice. And in fact, they're guaranteeing that you feel like you don't have a complete set and that you're going to need to buy
you're
more
going to have
dice.
buy more dice on top.
Yeah. So that's not a great feeling. The other thing I want to talk about is the art. I was so excited going into this about the art. You've got characters on the cover and then throughout the booklets that are from the original Dungeons & Dragons 80s cartoon.
Yep.
Awesome, cool. WizKids even has miniatures for them. Awesome, exciting. I want to pick those up. They look great. There's nothing in here other than a couple pictures that have anything to do with the 80s cartoon. I was at least hoping that the pre-gens were going to be based on those characters. There's nothing. This is nostalgia bait. I mean, without a doubt, this is nostalgia bait. They here's characters you know and love, and that's it.
You can't play as them.
You can't play as there's no they even have the minis out.
Yeah.
Like usually they have minis that match the pre-gens, right? So that you can
oh no, I got to go online to DM's Guild or DriveThru or whatever
Yeah.
and find somebody who made stats for these characters 10 years ago.
So I'm sorry if we're if I'm a little bit more complainy about this than a normal Loot the Body review. But there's actually just so much to not like about this set.
Yeah, we've not had a chance to play it, so we can't really say anything about the actual early game level 1 to 3 sort of starter set adventure of it.
Yep.
We'll likely play it at some point in the future and maybe revisit it as a whole. But adventure aside, this is already off to a really, really bad start.
Really bad start. Yep. 3 strikes against it before you even get to the adventure.
Yeah.
So like Jesse said, we haven't played the adventure. Don't know if it's any good. But it's got some stiff competition.
Yeah.
Right? Lost Mines of Phandelver is a classic at this point, right? It kicked off 5th edition and still holds up almost 10 years later. It's
fantastic.
Great starter adventure. Something else to note. I mean, so as the box says, as the name suggests, this is a starter set.
Yeah.
So this isn't marketed towards me, right? This isn't meant for me.
An enfranchised player.
Yeah, I've got all the books. I don't need this. So I would either advise you, if you're like me and you've got all the 5th edition books, or you're well versed in 5th edition, there's no reason for you to get this. This is an easy skip.
Yeah.
I think I would wait to see what the reviews are of the specific adventure, right? And if there's if there's rumblings on the internet of people saying like, "Wow, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, the actual adventure is awesome," then maybe you search out the PDF or something like that. But the box set, this is a skip.
At the very least, the last starter set, the Essentials kit, came with stats and ways for the DM to play with a single person. Which was super helpful and something that I've done before, but never had an official, here's how you should do it, or here's how we suggest you do it,
Right.
Sort of guideline to go about that. So that was like kind of a no-brainer to pick up because that was really, really interesting. This doesn't bring any of that to the table. And if I'm working at a hobby shop and this comes in and I have the choice of telling a new player or a new group of players which one I'd suggest that they grab, I'm going to say, hey, you should probably just buy the original starter set with Lost Mine of Phandelver because it comes with more dice and it's a way better sort of bang for your buck.
Yeah, if you're looking for a starter set and you can still get the original one with Lost Mines of Phandelver, that's a safe purchase and still worth doing. There's no upgrade here.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
It doesn't even I even thought, well, maybe so they're starting to make moves with digital. Maybe this is going to come with a digital code or something like that, right? Nope. Nope. So it's actually it's a hard skip.
I think we had kind of speculated when this was being sort of showcased or leaked online a little bit about what might be in it, what the price point would be. I think at some point there was some speculation that it might be a $50 or $40 price point.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, if it was priced higher, they could have put, if they had some kind of deal with WizKids or whatever, those minis and made made it a little bit better if it came with minis or if it came with more dice.
Yeah.
But I think just all around, this is a skip if you're a new player or an enfranchised player. There's better starter sets out there for you.
Yep. All right. Well, this has been Every Edition, your tabletop RPG talk show. Big thanks to our sponsor, Dragon's Horn Studios. Check out dragonshornstudios.com and their Kickstarter right now, In the Court of the Frozen Queen, Refrosted. Get there. Check it out. It's worth your time. It's for 5th edition and 3.5, and it's coming to print for the very first time. Thanks again to our sponsors. Thanks to all of you for listening and watching. It means the world to us to hear from you. Reach out, everyeditionrpg@gmail.com, and find links to all of our socials and how to get in touch with us, everyeditionrpg.com. Thanks a lot. We really appreciate it.